Welcome to your Barbados Today evening news update for Wednesday, August 4th. Attorney at law and former police officer George Adolphus Bennett has been remanded to Dodds along with a Guyanese co-accused in connection with over $2 million worth of illegal drugs. 60-year-old Bennett of number 103 First Avenue, Warner's Garden, Christchurch, and 33-year-old Guyanese Derma Rudradio, who is staying at the same address, are jointly charged with possession, trafficking, and possession with intent to supply 253 kilograms worth of cannabis. The offenses are alleged to have occurred on July 30th when police executed a search warrant at Bennett's residence. Bennett is also charged with the offenses of obstructing and assaulting police officers in the execution of their duties, resisting lawful arrest, unlawful possession of ammunition exceeding the amount permitted, and failing to deliver up police articles in the form of a police identification card. The two men appeared before Chief Magistrate Ian Weeks this afternoon, and they will reappear before the District A Magistrates Court on August 13th. Barbados' National Vaccination Programme for COVID-19 has reached an important milestone, administering over 100,000 first doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. A total of 76,665 persons are now fully vaccinated. This figure represents 28.3% of the population. Meantime, the Best Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Tuesday recorded 11 new COVID-19 cases of 5 men and 6 women. There are now 101 people in isolation. Barbados has recorded 4,433 confirmed cases of the virus since the start of the pandemic in March last year. 48 people have died from the viral illness. The country's national tree planting project is back on track. Today, some 200 trees were planted at the Nature Fun Ranch located at Bruceville, St. Andrew. Addressing the event, Minister of Environment and National Beautification Adrian Ford revealed the government's plans of having a large tree planting day to mark Barbados' Arbor Day celebrations to be held in September.
And I want to say that during this period of time, there were a number of shutdowns. There were situations where our nursery had to be shut because we respect the COVID protocols just like anyone else. Then we had severe drought, recognizing, of course, that Barbados is one of the 10 most water scarce countries in the world. So there were serious challenges that would have put us back. But as I said before, and I will repeat now, Arbor Day, which is September, you can start putting it on your calendars now. There will be something special in Barbados for all of Barbadians, where we will be looking to plant, and that one day, over 150,000 trees. That is one thing that I can tell Barbadians, so I let the cat out the bag already. So we are looking to plant on that particular day over 150,000 trees. So that would therefore put us back on parallel to what our intentions are in terms of having that million tree being planted over the next couple of years.
The Democratic Labour Party says it is pleased with the attempts that are being made to restore the houses of persons affected by the passage of Hurricane Elsa. However, the DLP spokesperson on housing, Ricky Harrison, says he is also concerned about the distribution system being used to allocate repairs.
And we are calling for an independent breakdown of the logistics and the funds expended for this particular project. And while the administration continues, while this Barbados Labour Party administration continues to shirk its other responsibilities under the guise of COVID, the DLP still awaits the Minister of Housing's plans for lower income earners, particularly those who were unceremoniously displaced from the Deanstown project, and queries whether this administration has made suitable provisions for those displaced by their actions. It is time, Mr. Minister, for less public relations gimmickry and more substance from the Ministry of Housing. There is much we need to know from this administration in terms of transparency and accountability.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, Director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Carissa Etienne, disclosed that 617,000 indigenous people have been infected with COVID-19 in the Americas. Dr. Etienne made the revelation during Wednesday's weekly press conference, where she urged countries to prioritize these hard-hit communities. In advance of International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, which is observed on August 9, Dr. Etienne noted that most indigenous people lack the financial and social safety nets to ensure they can continue to provide for their families and communities even when they are sick.
Although we lack robust data for all indigenous communities, based on the data that we do have from countries like Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, at least 617,000 indigenous people have been infected with COVID in the Americas, and nearly 15,000 have died from COVID complications since the start of the pandemic. It is likely that many more have been infected and many more have died, but we may not know it because they have struggled to get the COVID care that they deserve. Many of our indigenous peoples live in remote and isolated areas where a clinic or a doctor may be many kilometers or days away. Even those who live in urban centers still face invisible barriers like language, stigma, and poverty that can keep healthcare out of reach. We've long said that the pandemic has exacerbated inequalities in our region, and this is especially true for our indigenous peoples, since most lack the financial and social safety nets to ensure that they can continue to provide for their families and communities even when they are sick. As countries continue to be challenged by COVID-19, we call on them to prioritize the needs of our indigenous peoples.
And finally, the World Health Organization is calling for a moratorium on boosters until the end of September to enable at least 10% of the population of every country to be vaccinated. WHO Chief Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus made the call as he spoke to reporters in Geneva on Wednesday. He says there is also a need for an urgent reversal from the majority of vaccines going to high-income countries and to the majority of low-income countries.
So far, more than 4 billion vaccine doses have been administered globally. More than 80% have gone to high and upper middle income countries, even though they account for less than half of the world's population. I understand the concern of all governments to protect their people from the Delta variant. But we cannot and we should not accept countries that have already used most of the global supply of vaccines, using even more of it, while the world's most vulnerable people remain unprotected. We need an urgent reversal from the majority of vaccines going to high-income countries to the majority going to low-income countries. Accordingly, WHO is calling for a moratorium on boosters until at least the end of September to enable at least 10% of the population of every country to be vaccinated. To make that happen, we need everyone's cooperation, especially the handful of countries and companies that control the global supply of vaccines.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.